Start recording. So welcome everyone. I see familiar faces and new faces. It's been a while that I've taught from Morrisville Library, so I'm so happy to be back and happy to see all of your smiling faces as we welcome fall, even though it's like 80 degrees this week. It's like we're in Florida. But apparently there's some fall weather coming next week. But we're going to usher in fall, our own kind of fall, with these swirling, falling leaves that we're going to be using watercolor this evening. So, like I mentioned in the chat, if you didn't get to see the chat, you need watercolor paper, a small cup of water, watercolor brush, and you can use a smaller brush if you want as well when you paint the actual leaves. But I've got, I guess this is a number 5. It depends on what brand you have. I have found out that just because it's numbered doesn't mean that it's always the same number. That's what's the crazy thing. But basically, my number 5 is a bigger, thicker brush. It is a round brush, so you'll see that on the end of it here, it comes to a point. Flat brushes, obviously, the bristles are flat at the ends. So a round brush, which is what this is where it comes to more of a point or a little bit more pointed. So I'm using this. I may grab another smaller brush, like a number 1 or a 2, which would be another round brush, just so I can do some detail. But I actually just used one brush for this. But I'm just saying if you want to add another brush, that's an option too. I'm just using Crayola watercolors here, a very basic set. And we're going to be doing some mixing in the side of the tray, whatever watercolors you're using. We'll mix a few of our colors. But other than that, it's a pretty simple watercolor. You can make it as detailed as you would like. I do mention having a white crayon. If you don't have that white crayon, that's okay. But the fun thing about the white crayon is that when you put swirls down, basically, I'm just going to show this really close up. I think you can kind of see these white swirls. That's where I went and used the crayon before painting. And basically, because it's wax, it's like a wax resist. The paint and the water resist the crayon, so it makes these swirls, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I guess it would work with a different color too, because it still has wax. I didn't think about that. But I just used white because I wanted the swirls to be white, kind of to look or sort of remind us of wind, you know. So anyway, if you don't have that, that's okay. You can probably just do the swirls with maybe your paint. You could use your paint for that. So anyway, we are going to get started. Basically, it's drawing our leaves. As you can see here, these leaves are not very realistic. They're colorful and vibrant. If you want to make yours a little more realistic, that is entirely up to you. But for tonight, I'm going to be showing you how to make them more vibrant and less realistic. So I'm just going to adjust my camera here. And I also want to make sure everybody is on speaker view on your device. That way you should be able to see everything large in your little square, depending on what device you're on. Okay, so we're going to get started here. And basically, if you take a look at my sample, some of the leaves are coming off of the page. And the reason that we do that is because it looks really good composition wise, you know? So I've done that sort of around the 4 corners. Some people like to do it in threes. They say, as far as composition wise, you know, having things go off the page in threes. I also have this going off of the page a bit, and this one. So I guess I've done more than 3 and 4, actually. But anyway, you want to think about your leaves kind of coming off of the page for interest. So let's get started. And obviously you see that there's different leaves, different types of leaves here. There's a maple leaf. I'm not even sure what this leaf is called. I'm not real good at trees. But basically it's, you know, it's more swirly. So if anybody knows what leaf that is, you can let me know. I'm not really sure. I know this is a maple leaf. I know that much. And those are one of my favorite leaves. So getting started, we're going to start in the top left. And basically, you are free to make your leaves look a little different, but I'm just going to be showing you how I made this sample. But you can be absolutely free with how you create your leaves and where you put them. But we're going to start up on the top left corner. And we're going to start off with our leaf kind of coming into view and just sort of a basic pointed leaf. You want to make sure that you're drawing this light. Oh, an oak leaf. Thank you, Marilyn. That makes sense. An oak leaf. I think I knew that at one point. That is awesome. So we're going to do the shapes first. And like I mentioned, you want to be doing these lightly with your pencil. I'm going to be doing darker so that it shows up on Zoom. So we've got our oak leaf. Thank you, Marilyn, over here. And you know, we're going to add some more oak leaves while we're at it. So I'm going to add this one over here. So we're going to kind of switch down to the bottom portion of our watercolor paper. And we're going to make another oak leaf. So here's another one. In this one, you can see the stem. So we're going to draw that stem happening. Kind of looks like a little fish. Can you all see the lines? If you give me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Joan. Yeah. Thumbs up, head shake, that'll do too. It's funny. When I teach the kids, they're always like, I'm like double thumbs up or double, you know, thumbs down. And sometimes I'll have some kids that do the thumbs down. I'm like, oh no, you can't see it. Sometimes I think they just want to do the thumbs down. But anyway, so we're going to continue on and make another oak leaf. Here's one over here, and this one is a little bigger. So starting towards the bottom right corner, but above. So we're going to make this one like so. And you want to make sure to make the stem as well. So here's the stem happening. So as you noticed, I haven't done the middle of the leaf yet. We can go back later and do that. Just want to get the basic shapes of these happening. And let's see, I haven't really done any other oak leaf. Oh, well, one more kind of right here. So then we have one coming in from the left. And we see the stem kind of curving a bit. And then the other part of the leaf kind of curving over at the top. And so we're starting to fill our page just a bit, and we will continue on with our next leaves. Let's see. So we're going to do the maple leaves. So that's going to be right here in the left. And again, if you decide to make yours in another section, that's okay too. So we're coming in, if you're following how mine is, you're coming in from the top left corner. And first, I like to just make the stems a straight line. And then I go back and I create it to look more two-dimensional. So here is the stem. Let me make that a little darker. And then we're going to start with our shape. So basically, the first shape at the bottom is going to kind of look like a downward arrow. And then we start to go upward. And what I like to do is after creating this shape, I then go in the middle to where our stem is, and I recreate it, or actually, I should say, make it longer in the middle, just so that I have a guide of making the shapes, the two sides of the maple leaf, so that it kind of looks a little more even. So that's why I kind of extend the line from the stem for now. And then basically I come up to the top of that point, and I start to make the top of the most pointed part of the maple leaf. And then basically I kind of start to create, oops, I went the wrong way here. Sorry about that. I erased that. Have to make it smaller. So I start from the top point and I make curves on either side. And whatever I do on the left side, I also mimic on the right side. So we go inward and outward, and then I do the same thing on the other side. Nature is pretty cool in that way, is that usually if it's on one side, it kind of mimics the other side. So this one, we're going pointy and going in, and then back out. So remember, this is your middle here, right here. You're going to swing out. I'm going to go a little closer with my camera here. There we go. So we're right over here. So we're swinging out, and then we're going to go longer with this shape and go back in. So we're going towards, remember, this is our end spot here. So we're going towards these two spots, and then we go back another point, just a little bit, and then around. I'm going to run into my other leaf there. And then our last part. It didn't really end up exactly where I wanted, so now I'm going to fix my leaf a little more. So by that, what you may have to do is just match up and make sure that each part of that leaf is similar to the one on the other side. So you may have to make something a little bit longer, like a point a little bit longer or shorter. And then you want to fix inside so that the vein is a little shorter than how you made it originally. So see, I went back inside, shortened up that vein in the middle, and then created the curved veins coming out of it. And then I'm going to draw in the other side of the stem. Because remember, we created the stem to just be one line. Or at least I did. Maybe you all made yours more two-dimensional, but I did mine with just the one line. And so we're now going to start to mimic around the rest of this with our maple leaves. So we've got one up here that is kind of hanging off of our page. So right up here. And again, I'm going to go closer now that we're getting more into our page so that you can see what I'm doing here. So here is part of that maple leaf. And I'm going to start to make the curves and the points. This is kind of the middle of it, or this is half of it. And then I'm going to make that center line right here so that I have, again, something to go off of as I create the second half of that maple leaf. So going in and out, and you only have a portion of this one to draw. And when you are finished, you want to add those veins. The maple leaf is the hardest one. I feel like the others are not. Oops, moving my picture around all over the place. And we're going to continue on. We have another small maple leaf here in the upper right corner here. Move my camera up just a little bit so you can see. So we're talking about this upper right corner here, and we're going to go right in the middle of that point in order to create the middle shape, or I should say not the middle shape, the middle of the actual leaf. So this is the veins. And then you're going to just make some curves and points like this. And you can see that your leaf is coming in just a bit, but not showing the whole thing. And that's in the top right upper corner. And we've got one more maple leaf right here in the middle. And it's kind of in the middle. And I realized I have to bring down my oak leaf because, well, went a little crazy with my oak leaf going a little too close to the middle. So I'm going to move it down here towards the bottom of my page where it was originally on my sample, so that my oak leaf, or I'm sorry, my maple leaf now has room. Okay, so maple leaf right in between. We've got our stem that's curving towards the right. You're going to make the two kind of arrow lines that are the bottom of the maple leaf. And then from there, that's where I like to start to extend the veins. And this time I'm going to extend the veins right now. So that is the center of our leaf. I've extended the veins. And now I'm going to come back down here to the bottom and start to create the long parts of the maple leaf. Oops. And remember, sort of do the same thing on both sides. This maple leaf is going to be a bit bigger. And it goes in a bit and up. Curving again. And we get to the middle. Here's the middle here, and we've got the big point of the maple leaf, and then it goes inward. And then obviously you want to go back down to the stem and make the stem more realistic looking. I have to fix my oak leaf over here. I made it a little too big and it's kind of crashing into my maple leaf. So you may find that you've got to kind of adjust some leaves. Let me walk a little bit with my camera there. And now we have this leaf right here that we're going to start adding around. And that's going to be in our bottom left corner first, or a roundabout area. So I'm going to move my other leaf and make it just a little bit smaller. Now, again, if you want to make it not exactly in the same position, that's okay. I'm just doing it because that's how I did it the first time, and I kind of like where everything is laid out. So I'm going to start with the center on this one. And so basically going into the center vein. And then from there, I'm going to make the first curve at the top. Like so. So it's going to kind of look like this. There is the center vein. And I'll extend it a bit into the top curve. That's the upper point of the leaf. And then from there, you can just kind of make these kind of swerves until you get to the bottom of the leaf. And I'm going to have to move that oak leaf again. I think, oh, maybe not. Like so. And then you can add the rest of your veins. Yeah, I am going to move this leaf because it's too close. And I really want it to not be that close. So I'm going to move this one right here. Okay. All right, we're almost finished here with the drawing portion of it. Almost. We have another leaf, another one right up here. Let me move my screen up. So I'm talking about this one right up here, right at toward the left top corner, but next to it to the right. So same thing. This one is coming off of the page a bit. So we'll start up at the top in the middle again with our curved vein. And then from there is where we start to make our kind of wiggled shapes until you get to the bottom and it goes more flat. And then I kind of added sort of a thicker part to the bottom. Fix this one a little bit. I want these veins to curve upward. Yep, that's more leaf-like. There we go. And then we have one more in here. And we do the same thing. We start off with the curve in the middle. And I'm actually going to draw, sometimes I draw the veins first. Sometimes it kind of helps with the shape. And so same thing, you're going to make those curves, go flat at the bottom, and have your little pointed stem there. And then our last our last one, our last leaf here is going to be this brown one. Oh, and I realized I forgot to make the stem on this leaf more two-dimensional. So I just did that with this one here. And then we've got our kind of curvy leaf over here. So making the veins in the middle, here's this curved line. And this one is kind of going off the page as well. We start off at the top with kind of a triangular shape. And then we proceed from there and make sort of long triangular shapes for those leaves. Like so. I've got to fix this one just a little bit. My vein kind of went off to the side, so I'm fixing that right there. And then making the stem more three-dimensional. And then we're going to add, let's see, we have another one that we add right over here. Kind of falling down towards the edge on the right. And there we go. And make the veins. This one I kind of did the opposite. And I forgot this brown leaf over here in the bottom right corner. So when you get a chance, you want to go to the bottom right corner and create that leaf to fill in your composition. And then when you're ready, you can go back and fill in the veins inside the leaves that we kind of left when we started in the beginning. So I'm doing that now. You want to add those veins. And then when you are ready, you can grab your Sharpie. And you want to make sure that it is the Sharpie brand. If it's not, I'm not sure if it's going to bleed as far as with the watercolor. So if you're not sure, you can either test it on another piece of paper, or you can wait until the end to use your Sharpie after you've kind of colored things. But maybe test it. That way you can do this step along with us. So I'm now going to grab my Sharpie and outline everything. So again, this is much more of an abstract. I would kind of consider this sort of an abstract painting in a way. It's definitely not as realistic because it's outlined in Sharpie. Now, again, if you don't want it to be outlined in Sharpie, you don't have to. But I thought it looked pretty neat when I was kind of creating it. So I went for the Sharpie to see what it looked like, and I ended up liking it, and that's how it kind of stuck. So basically, once you go over everything in Sharpie, you're then going to be erasing the pencil underneath. Especially because usually what happens when you're retracing something in Sharpie is you don't exactly go over the same lines. So then the pencil marks show. And it looks much neater after you erase those pencil marks. So just take your time, retrace over everything. Maybe even fix some lines if you need to. I've noticed that the trees have already started changing. It's so beautiful this time of year. I know most people love summer. And I like different parts of summer. I'm not a big hot weather person, so this is kind of really my time of year, but I think it's so pretty. All these, it's amazing the bursts of color that happens to these, to these leaves. Every year I keep saying I'm going to read a book on which trees change to which colors because I have no idea. I'm assuming that certain types of trees always change to red and other ones to yellow, that sort of thing. It's kind of what I'm assuming. Think I'm going to have to take a trip to the library. So keep going and until you have all of your leaves outlined, if that's the route you're going. It does take a while, but it's kind of relaxing to trace things, I think. It's kind of like coloring, right? Remember when the adult coloring books were in? I feel like they're still kind of in. I know my sister still buys them. It's amazing how detailed some of these are too, the adult coloring books. My sister loves fairies, so she gets these. She was showing me this one and the artwork was just beautiful. Detailed forests and mushrooms with with the fairies and stuff. It's really cool. Okay. Almost finishing up here. Take your time. And so remember when you are finished to then erase your pencil lines. So I just got finished with the going over all of the lines. Oops. And now erasing all the pencil lines. And then I feel like the real fun begins with the color. And as you can see, I did blue. Whoops, I was kind of thinking like that could either be the sky or like water, like it's falling in water or it's in, the leaves are in water. I kind of left that up to your imagination, whoever's drawing it. You can either have it be water or air. So it could either be the wind or ripples in the water. And this next step is going to be the crayon. So if you have the crayon, this is where, after you've erased all your pencil lines, feel like I'm just about there. Every time I think I've got all the pencil lines, I see another one. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's another. These kneaded erasers are great for this because you can get so much area covered. Okay. All right. So next step, white crayon. Mine is kind of broken. And so basically, it's difficult to see the white crayon, but basically you want to create swirls, and I will kind of lean mine over so that hopefully you can see it. When you're creating the swirls, mine kind of show up on my paper if I tilt it, and also if I kind of look at it at an angle. Let me see, I'm going to kind of tilt mine on screen and see. So for instance, let's see, there is a swirl here. If you can see where my finger's pointing, that is a swirl. So that's where the wax, yep, there you go. You can kind of see it now as I'm tilting it. So if you do the same thing with your paper, you should be able to see the swirls. Kids love this one because you know, it's like magic swirls. I've even had some people actually take the crayon and also make it almost look like a batik, and use the white crayon on the leaves. So for instance, if I were to go and trace in the middle of the leaf, like around the vein, you could do that too. I'm going to do that for some of these. You can even trace on the inside of the leaf a bit. The other thing you can do with this is you can probably make some texture with it by, I didn't think about that until I started saying it. Right now, I'm going to create some texture by also using the crayon inside some of the leaves, by making some lines in the leaves so that then when it's painted over, there will also be a resist happening inside the leaves. So my original was not like this, but I'm going to try it out on you guys to see what it looks like. Why not? A few more here. Okay, maybe one here. So basically, wherever you're putting the crayon, the paint and water are going to resist, meaning it won't paint on that section. So you want to think about where you would like to use your white crayon. And then when you are ready, you pick your background color. Like I said, mine is blue. And you go around all of your leaves. So I think you're going to start to be able to see where I've added the white crayon. Yep. I like to start light first, and then I like to go around the leaves with a bit darker of the blue. So first I kind of make it kind of watery. Not real watery, but lighter. And so you can start to see just in this section that I've done, the resist happening right here. So you can also do like a purpley blue. If you add some purple to this blue, you're going to get more of a royal blue if you're using the Crayola. You'll also get that if you add purple to blue on any other set. You're going to get more of a deeper, kind of a richer, um, almost jewel toned blue. Um, I taught this as a kids class too. The fun thing about this one is it can be both a kids class, kids, teens, adults. What we did in the kids class was we sprinkled salt um, on the background, which is always fun because the salt also acts as a resist for those that have never used the salt. I know a lot of you have who've taken my classes, but those who haven't, if you sprinkle salt when it's wet, the salt sucks up both the water and the paint and leaves sort of white dots because of the texture of the salt. So the bigger the salt, the bigger sort of the white dots. So you can use different kind of shaped salt. You can use like kosher salt that's really thick. And then if you use fine table salt, it's like almost like a sprinkling of stars or something. I like to use a lot in kids programs just because it's fun. The effect of it is fun, especially doing kind of galaxy kind of paintings and snowflake, kind of like wintry stuff. I mean, I still use it with some adult stuff too. So as you can see, if you're looking at my background, you're starting or should be able to start to see the swirls that are happening. It's kind of fun. The other thing you can do when this is dry is I haven't done it with this one, but I've done it with others. You can go back and add colored pencil to add some more texture to the leaves or even the background. If you want, you don't have to. I like that combination of colored pencil and watercolors, but this is great on its own. It's already pretty good on its own, but just a sort of a suggestion. And just take your time around each of the leaves. They get very intricate, especially the maple ones. All right, so I pretty much have the background done. So now I'm going to go back and create some darker areas by adding some more paint. Mostly, I like to go around the leaves, almost like outlining at least one of the sides. I just think it looks really neat. So I'm doing that around each one. And then sometimes I go back and I just add a little bit more water to kind of blend it so that it doesn't look so harsh around each of those sections. But this is where you can kind of have fun and make it your own. I always say this, I always so excited to see what they look like, what everybody's looks like, because they're all so different. And as far as the leaves are concerned, basically, I used very vibrant, saturated watercolor for these. I mean, I'm using Crayola, but I used a lot of pigment as I did it. And then I even went back afterward and I used some marker because I thought that would be kind of interesting. Now that's not something you have to do. I thought it would look really, really neat. But again, not something you have to do because you can also make these leaves less vibrant by adding more water, obviously. So when you are ready, you can start to pick a leaf to paint. I do like to wait a little bit to make sure the background is a little more dry. And the way I do that is I kind of bounce, literally bounce the watercolor up and down to dry. You can also use a um, hair dryer, but these aren't sort of soaking wet, so at least I don't think. So now I'm just kind of bouncing it dry a bit. Yeah, mine's pretty dry except for right next to the leaves. So I think I'm going to get started with the coloring of the leaves. So this is where you can really have fun and start to mix two colors together. Like for instance, um, at the bottom of the leaf, maybe you want it to be yellow. And then as it starts to get into the top of the leaf, I want to add some orange. I added yellow around each of the um, center of each of the leaves. So I just took my yellow and kind of painted over the vein areas of each of the leaves. So again, that's not something that you have to do, but that's what I did in my original. So I kind of just, quickly traced along each of the lines in the center of the leaf, or each leaf, I should say. And then again, I bounce it a little to dry. I also, now that I'm thinking of it, I went back when these were dry and I think I added some yellow marker even to the center again because I wanted it to be really bright in the center, but you don't have to. I basically used my bright, the yellow from this Crayola set. And then you can start to add your other colors. So I'm adding brown for these smaller ones. Right here. And even the one here in the bottom left corner, or bottom right corner, I should say. So these I experimented and added some crayon to, so we shall see what they look like. Very interesting. Okay. And then I'm switching to my red for the maple leaves. Nice vibrant red here. So basically, I don't use a whole lot of water. I may add some orange in this one. I was just thinking the other day, um, when I was a little girl, my grandmother used to take leaves and iron them onto waxed paper. And then she would sometimes frame them, not all the time, but I guess she did it to kind of preserve the leaves. And I've always wanted to do it since. I think I did it 1 year. And it's for this is kind of reminds me of sort of the wax paper leaves that we would collect the leaves and do that. So for whatever reason, this painting reminds me of that. So this is where you want to start going around to each of your leaves, adding the pretty vibrant color. You can mix orange and red together. You can mix yellow and brown together, yellow and orange. I love when you see leaves that have multiple colors in them. It's almost like the leaf started changing and didn't exactly finish, and there's still green and yellow in it, and then you see orange and yellow. It's pretty neat. Let's see. Okay, so now I need some orange. Got a lot of red here, but now finally adding orange to the mix. Orange has entered the party. The other thing I like to do with this is when they are dry, I add another application of color. You don't have to, but especially with Crayola being a inexpensive option of watercolors. The colors are kind of vibrant, but sometimes muted in the same way. So I like to kind of go back. And then again, another thing is you can make them even more vibrant with, just some basic markers or colored pencils. And Joan, you mentioned you're using the watercolor pencils, so you could even go back and then um, start to color them in again with the pencil. That would look really, really neat. But again, these are all just options that you can do, or you can just leave it as it is because I think it's pretty fun. Even just adding this much color without doing anything to it. As you can see, it's really starting to get colorful. I'm gonna finally add the green. to these leaves. These are the leaves that I kind of did the resist to. So as you can see, or maybe you can't tell on Zoom, but there are portions of the leaves, the green ones that are white because of the crayon. So it's more textured. Okay. And let's see. Oops, this one is running a little bit. Clean that up. And then finally some more reddish. I'm going to make some reddish orange over here. Some kind of red at the top in the maple leaf, and then some orange going towards the bottom. And a little more red. Okay. You can even add some red and brown. Just thought of that one on some of the brown leaves. That would look interesting too. So I'm thinking in maybe another minute or two, we can kind of show what ours looks like if you want. Kind of letting mine dry a little. You can also go back again to the background if you decide you want it to be a little more vibrant. Oh, the other thing is I like to fill in some of the stems with the black Sharpie if you haven't done that already. Or you could color them brown with your watercolor. I just did mine black, but you could do brown. Is probably where also you could use colored pencil if you wanted. Or just a watercolor. I don't think I got all the stems. So I am curious what everyone's looks like, even if you're not finished all the way. I'm going to remove my spotlight. And I'm curious if anybody wants to show theirs, what it looks like. And in the meantime, I'm going to put my information in the chat, meaning my email. If you would like to send me your finished picture, and then also, if you're interested in more of these classes, I have a weekly newsletter because I teach for about 20 different libraries. Oh wow, Elizabeth, that looks amazing. And if you want to unmute, you can unmute too. I'm actually going to stop the recording at this point. Let's see.